Speed of Sound here with Colton.
Yep.
Corporal Anon. That's an interesting thing.
Okay.
Let's see. We're going to talk about Ashley phosphate beds and other things geological. And do you have anything you want to plug?
No, not, other than
You don't,
RJ and RJ's book, The Rocks Were There. Get this. Other than that,
I plug it on most of my. Yeah, I usually put it in my description. I do own it. It's sitting here somewhere in my pile.
yeah, that's the only thing I really have. I don't know much else.
Okay, good enough. It's a good book, comprehensive. Everyone should own one. I offered to buy a creationist a copy the other day, but she declined. She or he declined. I don't know why. I guess they were suspicious of the generosity coming from an atheist. I'm not sure. I don't know. No,
I don't know.
I think it was actually an atheist that wanted it, but never got in touch with me. Anyway, so I first heard about this Ashley phosphate bed where dinosaurs have been discovered with humans, and I thought it was pretty cool. So I went out and bought the book that they keep showing, which and this is the cover of the book I got. And there's some interesting things. This is by John S. Holmes. It was written in 1870. And they show a couple of pages, and I'm going to share a screen. Let's see if I can rig that up. How do we want to do that? Let's see, Google. A report there.
Yeah, I had first heard about this claim actually a few years ago. It showed up on the Debate Evolution subreddit. Somebody was about to do a debate and wanted our thoughts on it.
Yep.
So it looks like it goes back to at least like 2010. And it was Ian Juby's whole thing, which is where I first heard the actual whole argument.
Yeah. So is that readable at all, that screen?
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, so here's Ian Juby. So basically, this is, and I got to make it bigger because I have a very large screen. That is the picture that he had. That looks like a well-worn book. And it has a dinosaur standing next to a tree and a man. And that's the big point they make, that Holmes was really pushing this dinosaurs and man thing in this book. And when I actually bought the book, I could not find that cover anywhere. So that may have been like a really old cover that they use because they like to market things. And let's see here if I can. So I found this cover, which is kind of I think that is a very old cover, but I could not find what he's pointing to there. So I thought that was curious for one thing. And then I went ahead and looked at that picture and this picture here, which is a megatherium, I believe, a big sloth or something. Yeah, standing against a tree. Those look really similar.
It actually does.
It does. So I'm not sure where that illustration came from. And then there is the infamous mention right here. Let's see, is that the one? Coprolites, that's human bones. Put that up there. And this one is, you see my production values are shit.
That's okay.
Yeah, we get
zoom us in.
Zoom, how's that?
Yeah, looks good.
Okay, so here, the part that they mentioned is this one: American elephant or mammoth, the mastodon, rhinoceros, megatherium, which he has a picture of on the cover, and hadrosaurus. So I'm like, what? Hadrosaurus. So I looked that up, and it turns out that hadrosaurus was discovered in, let's say they found teeth, I think, about 12 years earlier, and they found some bones. And then the hadrosaur became the very first bone that, let's see if I can find that one. Ashley phosphate beds, one layer. Am I going to find it? Hadrosaurus, I do not have it there. Let me see here. I have too many windows, too many things. Ashley phosphate beds YouTube. Bioinformatic methods. I cannot find it. Coastal antagonist. Using storybooks. Here we go. This could be it. No, that ain't. Anyway, let's see. Oh, there it is. Yes. Hadrosaur. Got it. So the hadrosaur was discovered in Haddonfield, New Jersey. And it turns out that the very first entire skeleton of an assembled dinosaur was a hadrosaur. And it was done in 1868, 2 years before this book was written. So, and this is a picture right here. I don't know if you can see it on the lower right.
Yeah,
of the hadrosaur, the actual skeleton that they put together. So I'm guessing that in 1868 that there was a lot of stuff in papers about this. And Holmes was an interesting guy. You provided a paper where they explained that he was like a high school dropout, a plantation owner that got interested in phosphates because he could fertilize his cotton. And then he became a geologist. Then he became a curator at a museum. And he was awarded, I think, an honorary master's degree. And Juby calls him Professor Holmes, I think. I don't know why they would call him a professor, because he wasn't. But he was a plantation owner. He went on to create some of the mines. He started the whole phosphate business in South Carolina. And he is responsible for them digging all the fossils up, throwing them in the river, mixing them up, scattering them around or whatever. But anyway, there is no indication in his book at all, anywhere else, about a dinosaur being found with man. He clearly talks about mammoths and just the standard things that we would expect to find living at the same time as prehistoric man.
So we have a single reference in that book to a hadrosaur and nothing else on it?
Nothing else. Absolutely.
Wow.
Nothing else. So I cannot find anything else anywhere in the book. In fact, he makes a big thing of saying that for the most part they were shells and they were there were shark teeth, and there was this mixture of ocean fauna with land dwelling stuff. And he explains that it was and you may know more about this, and I'm hoping you might comment on it, is the changing ocean level.
Yeah, sea transgression kind of thing.
Yeah, affected the East Coast, and they had deposits come in. And then everything, basically, the phosphate rock was created from calcium carbonate.
Yeah, phosphatization process.
Yeah, and it creates phosphatine or something they call it.
I think so. It's a secondary. Yeah, it's a secondary process. So it takes place after the stuff is deposited.
Yeah, and he makes Holmes makes a pretty big deal in his book about it coming from animal guano, coprolites or whatever, and the phosphorus comes from organic material, ends up in the ocean, or it's deposited at the bottom of the ocean, or it's in the water and it leaches out and it slowly changes it to
nodules or something.
Yeah. Now the phosphate bed, the really rich stuff, was only about 18 inches thick in some places.
Yeah, it maxed out at 30 inches in some places, average between like 8 and 16 for most of it.
Yeah, but then they talk about 200 and 300 foot thick deposits of sediment, basically, that run across the Carolinas.
Yeah,
I'm not sure exactly how it's all put together, but no. So that was it. So it was the fact that he put megatherium and he wrote that word hadrosaurus. And I've been trying to call John S. Holmes, but apparently he's not answering his cell phone. I think he died in like 1903 or something. To see, why did you put that there? And I'm guessing he put that there because he had just heard that word, read it in the paper, because the first hadrosaur was assembled 2 years before that. And it was not found in goddamn North Carolina. It was found in New Jersey. So anyway, so we have that. And then The other part of the thing they love to print and talk about is, let me put that over there, is this page. And RJ, I just found out from RJ about a half an hour ago that I could have got a PDF document of this. Apparently he found one somewhere.
Yeah.
Human bones discovered. And you'll notice that Juby, in his little video, he's got a little blurb. And the interesting thing about it is it's not copied word for word. I mean, it's not like he left out the word very. And there are a couple other words missing, which really gets my hackles up, because I think it's almost like they were trying to make it so that you couldn't find it. I don't know. Somebody typed it in from this book, and we pulled it out, and behold, the human bone. Without hesitation, it was condemned as an accidental occupant of quarters to which it had no right geologically. And so we threw it in the river. Alas, we have lived to regret our temerity and rashness. A year after, a lower jawbone was found. And they found other, basically, okay. So, and the same bed, we now have it in a cabinet, and that's where they always stop. They never give you the rest of this stuff right here. Subsequent events and discoveries show conclusively that the first discovered human bone was in place. That the beds of the post-Pliocene, not only on the Ashley, but in France, Switzerland, and other European countries, contain human bones associated with the remains of extinct animals and relics of human workmanship, proving most conclusively that the Carolina specimens were found in place. And as the European discoveries goes on, let's see, first determination of paleontological age of the post-Pleistocene beds. It stamps it as the prehistoric age of man. And there's nothing about a dinosaur being discovered with that. So the implication is that because he wrote hadrosaur on one page, page 31, after Megatherium, that basically they found this human bone, and they imply that they threw it away because they're evolutionists.
But they regretted it and found more and kept them.
Right.
So,
but if you look at if you
wrote about it instead of hiding it. So
right, yeah. If you read his book, he talks about God's, creating the phosphate beds, and he talks about pre-Adamite geology.
Really old stuff.
Yeah, he is a religious man. He's definitely a Christian. There's nothing in here about evolution. He was a geologist and a farmer and all of that. So I found nothing. I mean, that's all they got. That's all they got is what he wrote. And there's some other interesting little articles that popped up and books that popped up in the process. I'm not sure where I did with that one later to debunk them all. What did I? Who the hell? Cenozoic. Okay, this one. So I wonder how long they're going to keep trotting this out for the next 25 years. I mean, the coastal.
I don't know. It's such. Oh, I love that blog piece.
Yeah, that's pretty good. The Garden of Eden and the Flood classic reprint. I bought that. I'll get it probably in a week or two, because it is the only other place where there's a reference to a hadrosaur in the Ashley phosphate beds. And I'm guessing that his reference, I'm not sure when it was written, but I'm guessing that this, let's see if we can enlarge the cover. Enlarge cover? No, that's not what I just doxed myself. That's great.
Don't worry, it's too blurry to see.
I do that all the time. It's not enlarged very much. But anyway, so I bought that. That's by J.C. Keener. That looks like it was written in about 1910, maybe, something like that. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Okay, so we've got another really old reference. Fantastic.
Right, and I'm pretty sure that he references Holmes's book, and that's where he got it from. And then we have more information on the so where this all originated is there's a booklet that was written, which is totally out of print. I can't find it anywhere. Can't find it online. John Allen Watson. Let's see if I can expand that. It's not working. Why aren't you working? I don't know if you can see that or not, but this John Allen, clear. Is it?
Yep.
Okay. John Allen Watson, Man, Dinosaurs, and Mammals Together. That goes into detail about his research of the South Carolina phosphate beds. Now, he apparently still alive at the time of this writing and living in Texas, of course. They're either in Texas or Florida. Are you in Florida?
Florida.
So it's immutable. You guys probably live close together. So you should meet. You should meet up.
We got more phosphate here. So the companies love Florida for that.
Yeah, well, they don't even mention South Carolina as a phosphate source anymore in any of the current literature.
Oh, they mined the whole thing out.
Yeah, if you read the history of, or if you read about phosphate mining, they don't mention the Carolinas anymore because they completely covered it up. So anyway, so this is the source of all this garbage. This is where the whole creationists got the meme, where they picked it up. It's all based on his research, air quotes. And I'm pretty sure it's pretty bad. I'd like to get this pamphlet. If anybody can find it, please let me know. But it's rather obvious. Oh, and they state in here that it came from bones, that the bones were converted to phosphate. Well, not really. It comes from organic matter leaching into calcium carbonate, right?
Yeah.
It's not bone. They're implying that there was so much bone that it just like condensed.
No, that idea is completely outdated.
Right.
Which, granted, if this guy wrote this that long ago, I wouldn't give him too much slack for that particular point. But
right. And then we looked at, let's see, we have your papers, which, and I put links
2019.
I put links to one of them. I couldn't find the other one. The 2019 paper, which is an actual paper, which is pretty good. I don't know if that's, let's make it bigger. I have a 55-inch screen, so I have to move my mouse quite a ways to.
Yeah, this 2019 paper on the phosphate beds was really interesting.
Yep.
And it was pretty detailed.
I think they mentioned Holmes in here too.
Yeah. So essentially what happened was, as these companies have been mining the Ashley phosphate beds, basically everything that wasn't usable, they just kind of dumped in the river.
Yeah.
And so this was where all the fossils were in this sort of artificial man-made deposit. And these researchers were like, well, hey, we can just go trawl the river and pick up everything this company dumped and didn't want, and we can analyze it and do a reconstruction.
Right.
And they found, let's see, they found a bunch of invertebrate fossils, shark's teeth, whale bones, fish scales, some rare terrestrial vertebrate teeth and bones, but no mention of dinosaurs of any sort were found.
Not at all.
And this is the most recent research. So unless we want to say that they were found and were just destroyed, in other words, accusing them of just outright fraud, doesn't look like it's been supported by recent research.
And you mentioned something on RJ's channel last night about they found pieces of the original minerals that they were embedded in.
Yeah, they actually note that a lot of these fossils are clearly reworked from underlying rock units, like the Oligocene Ashley Formation, which is separate from the Ashley phosphates, because the phosphates were sitting on top of these formations. And I noted that a lot of these bones still have matrix, which is unique to these older rock units, adhered to them. Which means, a lot of these were reworked by river action and were deposited originally in these beds, and then were just scooped up and dumped somewhere else by the mining companies.
And interestingly enough, in Holmes's book, he talks about that a great deal, and he talks about the different layers and how there is I think he said there was I wish I'd printed more of it. There's a Eocene marl. Mm-hmm. And then the sands above it. He does a nice little description, but he mentions that there were much older rocks underneath the whole deposit, underneath the sediments. And I forget what he puts it. Cretaceous PD river marls underlie the entire thing, but that's way down underneath the beds. And then they have the river beds, the Eocene marls, and the Pliocene phosphates on top of that, and then recent soil and river mud. So he lays out the strata and he talks about the formation. They knew quite a bit back then for 1870. I was kind of impressed with his work. And the guy was, for being a plantation owner and eventually a phosphate mine owner, he wrote well and he did a lot of really neat stuff. So
yeah,
the fun thing about reading it is his style. It's worth a read. You're into geology, you should read this book just to get that feel for that, walking around in the field and chipping rocks and talking about
the old-timey ways.
The old-timey ways. And he talks about God a bit in here too. So he was not a lot, but I mean, he mentions it enough that you can tell that he was, definitely a religious guy. So I don't know. Pretty interesting. And let's see what else we got here. Oh, let's see. Okay, so and then we have the maps where you pointed out that let's see.
Yeah, it would be part A, shows the distribution of what the beds
a little bit. 1 kilometer, so it is not thousands and thousands of miles.
Well, it's actually A, shows you like a little 10-kilometer bar, and those darker gray areas were a reconstruction of what the original extent of the deposit was.
Okay.
It's not covering thousands and thousands of square miles. I don't know where that comes from.
Neph.
Quite frankly. I mean, well, there you go.
Nephilim pulled it out of his ass. That's where it came from. He does that. So the ocean covered this area for a while. So what was the cause behind the ocean fluctuations and the deposition of marine?
For the 1800s, that was from these phosphate beds were from the Pliocene. So
right.
I'm assuming it was from the actual province. Yeah, the Ice Age and the trading. Because remember, we had multiple pulses of the glaciers coming and going during that time. So there would have been plenty of opportunities where the sea retreated and then came forward, and you had these transgressions and regression sequences.
Yeah. Yeah, and in the meantime, apparently men were running around during some of that period, up to 15,000 years ago.
Yeah,
in the U.S.
It wouldn't surprise me.
The Brain Trust at Standing for Truth and Professor Ra Matt, Dr. Ra Matt, I want to call him because he pretends to be a doctor. He was talking about how the Romans chased the Native Americans out of Asia. They swam across the Bering Strait because there was no land bridge, and ended up in the Americas 500 AD. That's his theory.
That's not a fact.
He just did a video on it, and in the video he shows all of the modern research on man spreading from Africa through Asia, going over into the Americas. So he has that diagram, and he says our research shows it's not their research, and he does a whole piece on that. But
fantastic.
Anyway, it's a must watch. I mean, you got to watch this stuff. I mean, I know it hurts, but we have to address it. Because wow, people are lapping this stuff up, There are tens of thousands of them. Anyway, so this must be right in the ocean. Little picture of it.
I think that's right along the river.
Yeah.
And those are leftover phosphate nodules that the mining companies didn't take with them.
Wow. I would like to take a trip out there if we weren't suffering from some weird ass virus that's trying to kill me. I would fly out there this weekend and go take a look. But maybe if we ever travel again,
honestly, yeah, I will take any excuse to ride a train up there.
Yeah.
So
hell, we could meet there and
honestly, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
Hey,
we'll
we
see.
can go. We can go find the dinosaur fossils for ourselves and then destroy them.
Exactly. We can chop them up. Yeah.
We got to beat them there.
And the footprints. We gotta take a pickaxe or a sledgehammer and get rid of the footprints.
Ah, yes.
Dinosaur.
Just like we did with Paluxy.
Exactly. Yep. What do we have here? Invertebrates and land and mammals. So anyway, there was let's see, what else do we have here? There was another. Oh, that was just one paper. Okay, this is the 2019 paper, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then the other one is this report you got from this one. I couldn't find a link for. So if you could
1913. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, send it to me and I'll put it in the description so we have a complete copy. But there's a whole lot of interesting stuff here. Maximum thickness of 30 inches and all that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know. They don't have anything. There's
nothing mentioned in it on hadrosaurs or dinosaurs.
Nope. And I do have to carefully read the rest of this book. There's a great deal about the mining companies and stuff, but I have scanned every page looking for dinosaurs. Can't find them. So that pretty much.
There's really not much else to cover on it because it's not supported by recent research, and we've got I didn't know this, but only one reference in the book.
Yeah.
To it, and that's it.
Yep.
Not really that surprising.
Yeah. I mean, if you just look at the blurbs that they cut out, it's like, that's why I bought the book, because they make a convincing case by misrepresenting something, and you have to dig it out and take a look and read the rest of the paragraph. It's like I was in a debate with Nephilim, and he pulled out a quote from Kunin from Logical something or another. Let's see, I want to get rid of that. I forget what it is. Logical, I don't know. I forget the name of the book. Anyway, it was a book by Kunin, and I happen to have the book. And then I read the rest of the paragraph, and Kunin was going on about the multiverse or something. He was talking about probabilities. But at the end of the book, it was pretty interesting. Kunin said, ID, or intelligent design, is malicious nonsense. In the same book that Nephilim quoted. So that's why it's always important to buy the book, get the paper, take a look, figure it out.
Get the original sources.
Yeah. And the other thing, I was talking, I did a real early hangout with Nephilim, and I knew nothing about sedimentation or geology. And he was going on about how the layers are so sharp. That was his point.
That's one of his favorite points.
And he showed you all those pictures, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'm from northern Minnesota, the iron mining area, and I have spent most of my life inside of ore pits, like just walking around, looking at ore pits, 1,000 feet deep or more, and going in the underground mines and all that. And I have never seen that kind of sedimentation, that sharp stuff that you see in the Grand Canyon. And they claim Nephilim's big thing is that's the geologic column, and it covers the entire Earth. But it certainly doesn't cover northern Minnesota. In northern Minnesota, we have there's metamorphic sedimentary rocks, and that's where the iron ore is, basically. Mm-hmm. And it was deposited, and it was mined by bacteria and turned into this rich iron ore, basically. And I worked in the mines for the early part of my career. I was a miner, actually, a taconite miner and an iron miner. So, so he's showing me all these pictures, and I'm like, okay, fine. I've never seen that shit. I've never seen that. You go up in the Boundary Waters Canoe area in Minnesota, and you'll see gray whack and igneous rocks, and you will not see these wonderful sediments. And I'm guessing those are in the southwest, where the oceans kept flowing in, basically.
Yeah.
Oceans and then deserts and oceans and deserts. And I would like to see. I guess I don't know how to access geologic surveys of the entire country. Oh my God! Stop it. I would like to. I'd like to see more about, especially the Iron Range. But I went and got a book on the geology of the Lake Superior region. It's pretty interesting. In my my brother, I saw Ely greenstone. You heard of that? It's 4 billion years old. There's some in Norway, I think, or not Norway, but Iceland or Greenland, and there is some on the Iron Range. So when you drive up on the Iron Range, which is Virginia and Evelyn, Minnesota, on the sides of the roads, you could stop and go out and chip a piece of Ely greenstone, which is pretty cool. It's a slightly green rock from 4 billion years ago. It's some of the earliest rock we've ever found, basically. And I was talking to my brother, and he was, I think he was talking about some weird deposit that was by his house. A half a block from my brother's house is this huge, huge bank of Ely greenstone. And I didn't know this. I mean, my brother had lived there for like 10 years, and I'd been there a number of times. All I had to do was walk a half a block, and I could find this amazing deposit. It's just unbelievable. But looked nothing like Nephilim's geologic columns. So
yeah, I had a couple of geologists who were watching that debate, who I talked to, and they were like, "Yeah, that's not what we see across the entire globe. His characterization is completely incorrect," and he'll never concede that. But I'm sorry, the people who do the field work are the ones who get to characterize it.
Yes, yeah. So on the Iron Range, one of the wonderful things is we have a core sample museum of the entire northern Minnesota, where they've gone down and taken core samples, thousands of feet down, and they've stored them in a library. And there's a library up there. I think you have to be a geology student to go see it.
Yeah.
But they used to, when I was a little kid, my dad would take me to these mines for one reason or another, because he was a miner. And I would, there would be all these like old, beautiful, varnished little drawers, like big stacks of them, like chest of drawers. And you'd pull them out, and there'd be all these core samples in them. And my friend just recently told me, my lifelong best friend from the Iron Range, told me that her father hauled one of these buildings onto his property, put it on top of a basement, and it has since collapsed, but it's filled with those cores. So we're going to go up there and, at risk of life and limb, try to extract some of these cores, so I can, if nothing else, I want to show them the Nephilim and show them that, no, it doesn't look that way everywhere. It's just incredible. But
yeah,
doing some good overall geology of the United States videos might be something that you should consider, and show us some of the stuff that you're finding out, some of the maps and stuff.
Yeah, currently I'm reading a textbook that's about the geology of just my home state, and how the Florida carbonate platform was deposited and all this stuff, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Deep time.
intricate.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that covers Ashley. So want to go offline?
Sure.
So, okay. We'll end this.